This film is about mercenary characters doing everything and anything they can to get what they want. This is a movie that knows what it is. It is a self-aware thriller. And that means that it has all the requisite sex, violence, thrills, but it is slightly over the top, and it knows it's over the top, and that's part of the fun in it. This movie is kind of like a big comic book. It's not enormously deep, but it deals with issues, and one of the interesting things about it is that, you know, actors like Isaiah Washington, Susan Ward, Lila, they can all bring a little bit more than what you would normally get in a kind of textbook thriller. It's part horror film, it's part, you know, swamp thriller, you know, it's part black comedy, it's part action movie, it's got cars, it's got knives, it's got guns, it's got people jumping out of the dark. It's got people, you know, cocking shotguns. You got hillbillies jumping out of the bushes. You got, you know, gators popping up out of nowhere eating people. You got Isaiah Washington jumping into a swamp. It's got a lot of shit in it. It's got all the stuff that you want in a picture like this, and it's coming at you at 100 miles an hour. So that's the point of the movie. It's designed to be a fun comic book.
What's the matter? You afraid I did something when I packed your chute?
Maybe.
Take mine. What are you worried about? You're dead already.
Well, my character, Brittany, grew up in a trailer park, basically, and her mother was an alcoholic, and I'm sure that had husbands and men in her life that I'm sure beat her and were not so nice. And then she married into a very wealthy family, married a man, Niles, who had more money than God. And so Brittany's always trying to overcome her past. But she is, I think, genuinely a nice person. She just goes about things the wrong way in life to get what she wants. Yeah. She seems as if she's a very sweet girl, naive, but she's, underneath it all, she's not naive at all. Very ambitious, very gregarious, and she's out to get what she wants.
I play Maya King. I'm the bad girl and initiator of this plan to kill Niles, get his $70 million, and run off with my lesbian lover, Brittany. I'm the girl from the wrong side of the tracks, who you don't want to run into on a dark alley. But actually, Maya's a really smart girl. She's got a good edge to her. I think she's really smart, but no one really knows it. She's the girl that cuts school and goes to a library and reads books on how to build bombs. Smart or crazy? One of the two. Can't put walls around Maya King. She's always up to no good. She's so good, she's bad.
Gotta admit, it's a cool plan. I'll give you that. Using those pesky cellar rats to take Niles' plane down, making it look like a Cuban hit. Smart. But not smart enough.
I am portraying Terrence Bridge, who is an insurance investigator in the town of Blue Bay, somewhere in Florida. And in the course of his investigation, he finds out that there is definitely an individual who is murdering people. There has definitely been some foul play. He's trying to save $2 million from his company losing. And in the backstory, I think he's already written some policies where he's already lost for the company maybe $10 million from individuals who either died or just took the company however. So the journey about being in Blue Bay is that he is the odd man out, but that's the good part of it, is that he has to always play it cool, no matter what. He can never lose his cool. And in the film, when he does, we all ultimately see what happens when he finally loses his cool.
That's where I come in. And a few days later, a badly decomposed corpse washes up on the beach. Now it becomes my job to identify the body. And do you know how I do that?
Dental records.
Kiss ass.
Yeah, it's a sad and sorry task, but yes, that's how it's done.
I was part of the prize. I was in on the take. I was a willing accomplice to the crime, and then I got a little greedy. They didn't like me. They didn't like the way I smelled or something, so they shot me. And so now they're trying to dispose of the body in the murky recesses of the swamp here.
I don't think I'm gonna get through this.
Yes, you will.
Jerk into it, they're gonna. I had seen the first Wild Things, but I didn't know there was a Wild Things 2 in development. The script had been in development for several months before I came on. I believe the producers had seen my previous film, La Cucaracha, and liked what they saw and thought I could bring something to this movie. This movie has a lot of atmosphere, or it has the potential to have a lot of atmosphere, and that was one quality in La Cucaracha that was admired, and I think that's probably the reason why I was selected. I think the original was a much more intimate, contained, almost chamber thriller, in the sense that you never really, with the exception of maybe the opening sequence with Matt Dillon on an airboat, some aerial stuff, it was a very contained movie, and it's fine, it works perfectly like that. But I thought, okay, well, wouldn't it be interesting to try to make this look like a bigger picture? Let's try to make a bigger movie, if that's possible.
I'm really not one for something trying to repeat something that's already been done. But I don't know, this movie took a few twists and turns that the first one didn't. I met with Jack and I saw a movie that he did called La Cucaracha. I really enjoyed the way it was shot. I really enjoyed so many things about it. And when I talked to Jack, he really put my mind at ease because he wanted to make it a little more dark than cheesy.
I enjoyed the text. I enjoyed the writing. I was more attracted to the writing and the structure and the story. I thought it was very refreshing that Jack Perez would consider me to play this investigator, or this insurance agent turned investigator. I hadn't really seen this kind of character on my desk before, so I was very attracted to the fact that it would give me an opportunity to do something different from the things that I've done before. It caused me to try to push myself in terms of being challenged by the text, because I really, really enjoyed the reading. It was a good read when I first read it.
Hey, can I join in?
They're having a really hard time casting Maya. They had seen a ton of girls, pretty much all of LA, and from what I hear, the studio wouldn't sign off on any of the girls. And I was so surprised and flattered that, they signed off on me before I even went in. And so when I got there to the casting, we did a little, read through and did the scenes. And 2 days later, I was on the set filming, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't finished reading the script yet. It was so fast. It was really fast.
All right, what we need right here is if she stands up, can we shoot off into here?
Yes.
How I direct is not necessarily about, this would be cool, let's shoot it this way, this would be cool. I'm not one of these guys that goes, let's use that shot from Goodfellas and let's use that shot from Lawrence of Arabia and we'll do this, that, and the other thing. I really have to get jazzed by the material. The material has to inspire the shot. That's the only way I can put it. It's like the shooting of a film is the subtext of the script. So you're shooting the subtext, basically, is what you're doing. So whatever camera move you employ, whatever lens you employ, how you move the actors within the space, all has to do with what the subtext of the film is. The biggest challenge with this film, I think, is the schedule, is the amount of time that we have to complete the picture. We have 21 days to deliver a sequel to a movie that had a much larger budget and consequently a lot more time. So usually when you do a sequel, the sequel has to somehow in some way surpass the original. The film was very popular. Wild Things 1 was very popular. People remember a lot of things about the picture. A lot of people remember the notorious three-way sequence and all the double crosses and the flavor of Florida. And those were all things that were very important to this picture, but it couldn't appear to be cheap because I think people would be disappointed. So that's been the struggle, is to try to bring the production values and the atmosphere and the performances and everything up while fighting a very short shooting schedule, which is always difficult. Our typical shooting day follows a certain pattern. It starts with denial, which is that it starts with morning and breakfast and everybody, it's a new day and we have stuff to shoot. We know it's a lot, but it's a new day and the whole day's ahead of you. And so you don't ease into it because you have to start at a clip, but you're sort of optimistic because you're just shooting and you're woke up and you're fresh. And then around lunchtime, this sinking feeling starts to set in, which is, oh my God, we still have 4 pages left to shoot out of 6. I think our average page count is 5 or 6 pages a day, which is a lot. And it's not just 5 or 6 pages like us sitting talking. It's an eighth of a page on an airboat, and it's another eighth of a page in a swamp, and then it's people stabbing each other, and then there's a love scene, and it's all happening in one day. So it's extremely demanding, and you're moving from location set to set, and you're doing crying, and you're doing laughing, and you're doing violence, and you're doing lovemaking, and you're doing it all at once. And so what happens is that come around lunchtime, you can start to see the clock ticking more, and you realize that, oh my God, we have all this left to shoot, and how are we going to do it? And that's when everything starts to kick into high gear, and you can sense this. It's a combination of anxiety and a rush, and it's very taxing. And at the end of the day, you get that feeling like you've been out, working at a construction site all day. It's like when you get done with it, you're like, holy crap, I really worked today. I mean, you sleep really hard because it's hard. Every day is hard. It's fun, but it's hard.
She's probably halfway to the Cayman Islands by now. Laughing all the way to the bank.
Turn to the left.
Oh boy, she played me like a punk ass bitch. That skink.
Turn to the right.
Oh, I'm a fall guy now, huh? Is that what it is, Brittany? You're just gonna disappear and leave me hanging with all this shit. Oh, don't you see what's going on, man? She killed all of them. She killed all of them!
Jack Perez is very interesting. I'm very impressed about many things. One in particular is his ability to squeeze in a very ambitious script in 21 days. He has gotten quite a bit of cinematic endeavors in the can in a very short amount of time. I'm very impressed with his organization and his time management.
Isaiah does an enormous amount of preparation. I mean, he analyzes the script like an engineer. I mean, every moment has been, it seems, every moment has been thought about, if not preconceived in his own mind. And so sometimes, there'll be a scene that was scripted as driving in a car and talking. And we realize for some sort of production issue or because this location happens to be interesting, that it's now going to be a walking scene, A scene that he was going to be doing driving on the phone is now walking to the vet's office on the phone. And I can see how in that kind of moment, it throws him for a second because he's had this idea. And so it's funny because, I've told him that he says, you got me on a short leash. And he's joking, but I'm saying, the length of your leash is, directly related to the length of my shooting schedule. If I had, 40 days, it'd be a much longer leash. You could like walk all over the place and I would, I'd follow you. But I have to shoot to cut. I have to get these scenes in a very short period of time. I have to kind of distill them down to their essence, and that often means choreographing very specifically where they're going to go to minimize the amount of shots that I'm going to take and And fortunately, it's worked out. You know, he's kind of come around. He started calling me the puppet master.
He has a vision in his head of exactly what he wants. And if something doesn't quite work out shot-wise or location-wise or something, he's very creative. He just kind of stands there and really puts something spectacular together out of nothing.
I'm always wondering what he's thinking about, because he's always like got such an intense gaze and he's focused on something. You know, he's just running like a million different scenarios in his head and trying to, you know, cut the picture together. And sometimes I'm like, Jack, what are you thinking about? He's like, I just want to see how that works and how that fits together and this and that. And you know, it's just actually a very brilliant guy.
We did it, didn't we?
The wine cellar scene was the, you know, it was almost the, you know, it was the dreaded wine cellar scene, because I actually had never directed a sex scene. I had storyboarded and shot listed that sequence because I knew I had to get very specific pieces in order to convey what needed to be conveyed. But I was a little nervous. I think the thing about directing a sex scene is that you can't appear to be nervous even if you are. If you come on and go, well, I need you to touch her, if you come on like that, then the actors are going to get nervous. You almost have to come in very clinically, like a doctor, and say, you're going to put your hand on her boob, you're going to rub her butt, you're going to kiss his chest, and you're going to do it like this in this order. So the sex has to be choreographed very much like anything, like a fight sequence, like a boxing match.
By the end of the day, we were like, okay, can we just kiss again and get it over with? So there was nothing really too thrilling. It's just very kind of a work-oriented thing.
We giggled all day long just because it was a pretty uncomfortable situation, first off. The first 4 takes were like, you know, we had to kiss and it was awkward and weird. And we kissed, to be done, we were like, oh God, ew, that was weird, that was so weird. But it was cool because, you know, Susan's great, and Joe, Michael Burke, great to work with, very respectful. All of us as a whole, as a group, Jack Perez included, wanted to make sure that, you know, we came off not smutty, and we just wanted it to be as sexy as possible, as fast as possible, so we could get through it, get out of it, and have it be done. So hopefully we accomplished that.
Oh, you know, you and your mother can
You know, and then you're like, you know, it's fitting in as long as possible. We're clean of him, right? Or... The character that Isaiah plays, Terrence Bridge, reveals to Maya why he's decided at the last moment to do what he's doing, which is essentially going for the money. And it's a perfect moment for Isaiah. It's the reason why he's so good. It's because he does, Isaiah does pain very well. He does wounded very well. And so here's a moment where he's able to reveal that he's been kicked around like a dog his whole life, and it's time that I get what I deserve. That was just one really rewarding moment.
There are several moments where I enjoy having the play on words of having certain information on my character may know something, and just watching the other actors or the other characters in the world of the play try to play it cool, knowing that I'm onto them. So I've had a good time just enjoying the play with Susan Ward and Lila Arcieri, and having those wonderful transitional points, or what we would call very strong plot points and plot twists, where we get a chance to play something that's happening, but only the audience knows what's really happening.
In the coroner's office, when Isaiah's got to do the deal here, you know, when he's got to come in and interrogate me, and I know he's on to me, because it was kind of fun to do, because it was kind of open in terms of the direction. We had a big room to try to figure out what to do with, and we just through the process, Jack had us run through rehearsals, and he sort of, you know, shepherded the rehearsals, and it worked out pretty cool. It was like a little boxing match, and I come up with all these like idiotic activities that really don't go anywhere. And I find myself at the end trying to go on the phone, and I'm doing this and pills, and I wanted to throw the pill thing into the screen, but it would have been a mess, and, you know, trying to find 500 pills on the floor for resetting a camera, no one wants that.
Hey, you're parked in Brittany's spot. Haven't you heard? She's out. I'm in.
I love being the bad girl, actually. the bad girl gives you such an opportunity to do a number of things that you wouldn't get to do if you were the good girl. Good girls are kind of, they can be a little dull, you know. Bad girls get to do and say the things that you don't get to do and say in real life that you want to do and say, if you don't get to. If you want to keep your friends, that is.
Lila and I we laugh and giggle and have a great time throughout the whole movie. So I think she's been a true pleasure. She's been a big treasure in this movie for me because I think we release a lot of things to each other, and we're two little chatty Cathy girls. We run in the corner and gossip and make fun of each other mostly. We just have a good time, so it's nice.
We get along really, really well, which I think makes long shooting days and all-night shoots, you know, pleasant and easy to do. She's a great actress. I look at her, you know, we're starting a scene, they're rolling the film, they're rolling the sound, and we're waiting, and she's sitting next to me, you know, dry-eyed. I blink once, and she's in complete tears. I mean, she's got great control over her tool as an artist, as an actress. So I'm really impressed by her, and she's a great person. She's really down to earth, and we just get along like sisters, you know, giggling and causing trouble and, you know, doing our job. It's fun.
The movie differs from other erotic thrillers or suspense pictures in that it knows what it is. When there are scenes of Susan coming out of the pool in slow motion, dripping wet, or whether she's under the, you know, the shower head after a volleyball game, or, you know, when someone jumps out of the shadows, it's not meant to be completely straight. It knows what it is, and it is right. It lives right on the borderline between camp and genuine melodrama, and that's the tone of the picture. So the actors needed to be aware of what the tone was and play that in order for it to be properly realized. Otherwise, there's no difference between this and, you know, any cheesy thriller you see at 2 in the morning on cable. That's one of the things that made me want to do the picture, is if I could properly convey this tone of self-awareness. Because the last thing I wanted to do was make a conventional thriller.